center now in its 48th year. We need to get to 100% renewable energy ASAP. The climate change problem is increasing, and while efficiency is a very important part of that, it's not going to get us there. We're going to have to be investing heavily in wind and solar and geothermal heating and cooling, which can be done all throughout New York State. Geothermal heating and cooling is not supported by NYSERDA in any form, and that's a crime, because it's a hugely efficient way of heating, cooling, and making hot water, and so it should be encouraged by NYSERDA. They shouldn't hide their head in the sand on that issue. They should be treating it like solar PV, you know, how they support that. And since I only have a few minutes, I'm going to start with the history of the Erie Canal. The Erie Canal started in 1890, and it cost $7 million. You know, today that would be $140 million roughly. But that's not how to measure that expense at that time. $7 million was 30% of the federal budget. Now we need to get to 100% renewable energy. That's going to cost roughly $400 billion, according to the Jacobson report. And $400 billion roughly is only 10% of the federal budget. And New York State is an extremely wealthy state. It has a wonderful source of money, which gets recycled back to Wall Street in its entirety. And that's called the stock transfer tax. And if they kept that $12 billion, $12 to $14 billion every year that comes into Albany, they could fund a $400 billion bond fund to fund the transition to renewables. And no one in this room would get hurt by that. I don't know, unless you're a high-frequency trader, you know, like, okay. So that is one tremendous source of money that no one talks about. That's the elephant in the room in terms of finance, and that will pay for the transition. And right now we have roughly, New York State has roughly almost 16,000 solar panel installations, 10,000 on Long Island. That's up on open.gov if you want to look at the data. I just looked at it last night. And we have roughly 5,000, roughly 3,000, or 3,000 or 4,000 in upstate New York. Long Island's going to have another 5,000, so they're going to have 15,000 by the end of this year. This is great, but we're only 2% of the way there. We need to be generating 111 terawatt hours to replace the nuclear and fossil fuels that we're now burning stupidly. And we need to replace that. And so we're only a few percentage of the way there, and we need to get going. The other issue is that we should be asking NYSO to report the production from residential, commercial, government solar installations. I asked the Public Service Commission to do that last year, and I guess the phone lines are dead between NYSO and the Public Service Commission. We should be knowing that figure. That's 16,000 installations that doesn't come on the annual NYSO report. That's a biggie. Let's start reporting that, okay? Let's call them up. And they don't have to list the individual 16,000 ones, but they can, you know, residential, so forth, government, nonprofit, those are getting to be big numbers. And we also have 1,020 wind turbines turning away in New York State, which is great. It's a wonderful thing. But even all that wonderful energy doesn't add up to really any significant increase in the proportion of renewable energy that we're now producing. For the last 8 years, there's been absolutely zero increase in the percentage of renewable energy produced by New York State. Even though we made 16,000 solar panels, 1,000 wind turbines, they still are struggling to get to the left side of the decimal point on the total energy production of New York State, which is roughly 140 terawatt hours. So we need to be doing a lot more. We've done wonderful things, and we should be encouraging the public You know, when they pass 1,000 wind turbines, we should be having a party, okay? When we pass 10,000 solar panels, we should be, you know, NYSERDA should be shoving a party up on their website. And there's some news on their website about this. So let's start, you know, doing that and reporting those figures and making sure that the access to renewable energy, which everybody has, remains intact as we go forward with the REC. And making sure the poorest person in New York State can also participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.